the Grey Hat Beard podcast.
Hello and welcome to show 27 of Grey Hat Beard, the modern workplace podcast where we talk about all things Microsoft 365. I'm the Grey of Grey Hat Beard. My name's Kevin McDonnell and I'm a solutions architect at CPS.
My name's Alan Eardley. I'm the Hat of Grey Hat Beard and I'm an MVP and a solution architect at CPS.
And my name is Gary Trinder. I'm the Beard of Grey Hat Beard. I'm also a solutions architect at CPS. I'm an Office Development MVP and member of the Microsoft 365 Patterns and Practices team.
See, these bits get longer and longer and longer as we go through this group. Today we're joined by a guest. Those of you watching on video may have seen we're joined by Stephen Adams. Steve, do you want to introduce yourself?
Indeed. Good afternoon, Neil. So I'm Steve Adams. I am the Managing Director of CPS.
There we go. Short to the point. That's what you need to do, Gary. Just get that nice snappy title, none of this showing off. Anyway, we've asked Steve to join us because we did have a bit of a plan for this show. And then Thursday, Microsoft decided to announce Microsoft Viva. So this show will be Living La Viva Loca. Thank you, Gary, for that name. That was a great show title. And in part two, we're going to be talking about what is Viva. But the reason we asked Steve to come along is because there's a lot of excitement about what it is. Not so much from the techie view, and we got three of us who get overexcited about techie view, but there's a much bigger part to it, looking at the business value thing. So if you're listening to that bit, we'll be in part two. Part one, from now on, it's going to be a Viva-free show. Which sounds very. I suddenly paused there. I was like, Viva Tree. That sounds like something. Viva Tree.
Oh, did you get a gin with that?
Now. Yeah, I was just suddenly going down the gin route straight there with that one. But we're going to try and cover the news from the last couple of weeks that is non-Viva related. And the first one that come up, which we were just talking about in the intro, we were a little bit surprised because we thought it was going to disappear off. And that was that Office Lens is going to be renamed as Microsoft Lens. Now, it disappeared out the store, Office Lens, a few months back. And we thought it was just going to come up into OneDrive and that functionality. For those who don't know, Office Lens is that ability to take photos of documents, of whiteboards, and have those translated. It cleans up the whiteboard, cleans up your documents, makes it nice and straight to scan. And it's been renamed to Microsoft Lens, and they brought some new intelligent actions to it. So you can do things like image to text, image to table. I've used this an awful lot. Back in the olden days when I used to actually go to clients and do things on whiteboard, it's definitely my go-to tool because you can go and take a picture of the whiteboard, take a picture of all your Post-its, have them all nicely translated. But it looks like it's going to get even more and kind of translate to text as well. So nice little bit of functionality.
That'll be so nice if it can actually do the OCR on my writing on the Post-it notes on the whiteboard whilst taken at an angle, and it will make it all straight and get me the text. That'll be awesome.
So there's a challenge to the PM at Microsoft who runs there.
And I'm happy to volunteer to be an early tester for that, yeah.
But I think also, to get those different bits of handwriting and get those all translated, I think it'd be very, very useful.
Yeah, I mean, it was always a great tool for actually just taking pictures, taking images, receipts, all of that good stuff. And I think hopefully they'll put it into OneDrive so that it's kind of already saving to OneDrive as they had, but they also had other places that you could share it and save it as well. So that would be really nice to see that come back. But yeah, we do need to get back on site to actually physically do things, don't we?
Not always. I would say for me, it's been a bit of a lifesaver through lockdown. I think about the whole pandemic. I live in a fairly sensible paperless home office environment. We don't have a printer in the house. I've not had a printer in the house for probably 3 years. So actually receiving documents and signing physical documents and then using Lens to actually scan those documents back in has really been a benefit. So maybe that's part of the resurgence, possibly. So.
Yeah, I think it was a surprise for me. I've been using OneDrive recently. Moved house a few months ago. All my documents now are all scanned. They're in my OneDrive. Just using the Lens, it's just an instant thing now. Something comes through physical, it gets scanned. If I don't need to keep it, that's it, shredded, it's back in the recycle bin. But yeah, it's interesting to see where they'll take that. I wonder if, there was bits about 100 page PDFs and re-editing PDFs as well, which is, I guess, maybe pushing. Yeah, Kev thinking, oh my God, that's a big document. But maybe that's a different.
I did do a 20-page one, a questionnaire for my son the other day, and that I was going mad by about page 11. It's like, here we go, take the phone, you can do the rest. So 100 pages, I think's probably pushing it.
Yeah.
Actually, I'll tell you what would be nice if it could work out, to get rid of shadows. So when you do it from an angle, when you've got like the kitchen lights all around you, to get rid of those, that would be a lovely feature if they could get in there.
Right, let's use a voice for it then.
Yeah. Next one, Gary, there was some stuff about SharePoint site collection level permissions in Graph.
Yeah, so this is demoed on the Microsoft Graph community call last week by Jeremy Kelly. So this is new permissions really around using the Graph and SharePoint as well. So historically in SharePoint, we'll be able to do permissions at the site level. As we've moved to Azure based permissions, it's been more across the tenant. So they're bringing that back. So it's Azure based authentication, but you can set permissions at the site level now. So it's kind of like modern authentication, but at the site level. That's rolling out as we speak. There's a really good demo that was done on the call. So there's a few less than admin friendly tasks that you need to do. It's not in the admin UIs or anything. You've got to actually roll a few graph requests to get things set up. But yeah, there's new permission scopes that have landed already in tenants. I've already seen that. That allows you to use this new functionality. But it's good that there's a gap there that's now being filled. We've seen it with Teams with resource specific consent. This is kind of similar to that, but based on SharePoint. I think
that where this is key is where you're, like for us as consultants, we go and speak to someone, they want to deliver this functionality. We then have to speak to the IT team, say, yeah, this app needs to have access to every single site in your tenant. And they kind of go, really? Well, yeah, it's the only thing you can do. Now we can tie it down to just the site where things are needed and get a lot more control. And the same with Teams, which I think's powerful. So whether you're a consultant coming in, a developer in an organization, you can get access to just what you need to instead of that worry about getting too far.
Is that still using SharePoint permissions, Gary?
Well, it's going through the graph, so it's not using the old ACS. No. This is new. I mean, from what Kev's just said, yeah, it is exactly the scenario that I hear on a regular basis with CLI for Microsoft 365. We use Azure AD permissions. If you want to grant the CLI access to your tenant, to access at the tenant level. Obviously, your accounts still need to have the appropriate permissions to the different sites, but it's still that area of concern for administrators that doesn't necessarily need to be there. They want to scope. They want that narrow control over where those permissions can be used, and this it narrows it down to a much more focused area.
It's quite interesting if it's not using the SharePoint permissions, to think about what else that could actually result in. Different levels of permissions, different management of access, application access, user access, different levels of user permissions. Yeah,
so for this scenario, it's the demo was aimed at app only, which is the scenario that I think come across a lot. I like using managed identity and I using app only scenario. Very, very powerful, very easy to set up, but it is across the whole of your tenant. And if it's app only, you can go wherever you like. So this is the constrained version of that. So that that scenario background processes where you're not using a user account, because
is that all that it's available to, Gary? I guess how you're thinking is if you have delegated access, that if you're running an app, you could see a site. If you're going via the UI, you couldn't access it.
So it's like I say, it's currently in preview at the moment. It's rolling out. definitely the demo that was shown was just that use case. I'm sure there'll be more that will be coming. I think, once it's there, people obviously give feedback and different scenarios will come about. So yeah, something to keep an eye on, definitely.
Talking of which, sorry. Anne.
Right, no, it's definitely something to keep an eye on. This, there could be some quite intriguing prospects with what that could offer up for applications.
And for CISOs as well. You think from a security standpoint, every time you take an application through internal governance for some level of approval, you guarantee it's a security officer who's sitting down saying, no, you're not allowed to do that. Or we prefer if you didn't do it, it's too big a risk. So I think it's great.
And I think it's good because you can lock it down, but now we've got to think about making sure you understand it. So talking of which, one of the other bits of news, I have to admit, I saw a tweet that talked about, I think it was today, that it was going to start being enabled that by default guest access is turned on for Teams. I was looking at an article and it sort of says February. It doesn't really say when in February, whether that's the end of February, the start, but... Well,
it'll be a rolling deployment, won't it? It won't be just one day for every tenant.
So it may depend on your different tenants and different needs, but basically the key point is, if you don't want guest access on by default, check your tenant, check this article, be in the show notes, and make an active decision to turn it off or an active decision to leave it on. Don't just leave it there by mistake and go, oh, we've got an awful lot of guests in here. That's surprising.
But also remember, you can now use access reviews if you have the right permissions to check guest access across your whole tenant.
Oh yes, we discussed this. What's and how do you get access reviews, Al?
You get more licensing, don't you? Yeah.
There you go.
Ching ching. Moving on quickly before we get in trouble for the license police. Other big news, we've got Edge. There was announcements about Edge end of support. So for those who use the legacy Edge, as they're now calling it, rather than the current Credge version that I think most of us call it. End of support reminder for Microsoft Edge Legacy, or Ledge Legacy, as I was calling it earlier, something like that. But yeah, apparently, what was it? March 9th, 2021. So you've got a little bit of time, but if you're still using it, just move off it as quick as you can. I can kind of understand people on IE11 just about. Those that have moved to Edge and aren't moving off there, please do, because it's not going to work. And also, I think related to that as well, Microsoft sets deadline for end of support for IE11 for 365 apps. So that has now been set to August 17th, 2021, which feels like an awful long way away, if I'm honest.
It's not that far, especially if you're trying to get people moved off IE11 and you've got apps already built in there. But I think the general view from both of those is use the latest and greatest. Don't dilly dally. Just get onto the latest and greatest.
I was going to say though, if I recall correctly, Teams was going to be the first application to just stop supporting IE around November last year. And I thought that would have caused more of a kerfuffle than it did. I didn't seem to see much about it. So maybe it's not that big a problem. Maybe.
I think it's tied into upgrades to Windows 10, isn't it? I mean, that's the only organisations that I've seen who are still using older versions of browsers are those that are still rolling out Windows 10. Anybody on Windows 10, the first announcement that you went through, Kev, is the right one. Stop using Edge Legacy. But I think this one, just will get people moving towards upgrading and making sure their Windows 10 latest version of the browser, latest security patches, all good. And there's also some great features that you didn't ever have in IE11. So
but you also have those backwards compatibility, so you can run sites in IE11 mode. So it's not even, oh, my app won't work here. You can run those sites as backwards compatible. So I think get on it if you haven't. I understand there are challenges. Don't get me wrong. I don't want to say to everyone just do it. It isn't as simple as that. But you need to have your plans in flow and getting moving. As Steve's here, if you need any help with that, of course, there are people you can go and speak to on that one, but I won't dig any further than that. This isn't. this isn't an advert. So,
but as a developer, please do move off IE11. Save a lot of pain. We've had this for years now. We're seeing the the light at the end of the tunnel. Just help us get there. Just please.
Amen to that.
Very heartfelt.
Moving swiftly on, Al, you're keeping yourself busy by opening yourself up to more exams, I believe.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, new security and compliance exams. I have to say, I think it's great that they're actually dedicating a specific track for security and compliance. I think having done the MS 500 and AZ 500, they're very painful because they're really big. But actually, there is more of a need. There's more of a desire out there to really focus on, I guess, more detail around what these tools actually provide. And these exams look like a really great starting point. Certainly the fundamentals. I tried that one yesterday. That's interesting. It's good. Gives a good insight into.
You say tried. You did pass it. I take it. Or
I
you
don't
won't
know.
know
It's
yet.
beta. It's beta.
Okay,
I fingers crossed, and we'll edit this out if I haven't. But yeah, I mean, I think all of these exams, where they're really focusing on information protection, they're focusing onto the actual specifics of what you actually need to roll out. Identity and access, I think, is a really good step, because it's an area that there hasn't really been enough coverage in the other exams that have been available.
And in terms of the difference to things like the MS 500, and I know friend of the show Peter Rising's got a great book about that, and others, the big difference is there they cover a lot of the kind of network security, or certainly the AZ 500, a lot of network security and very broad, whereas this is focused on the security and compliance side, which is great.
This is focusing on specific areas. So where you've got the information protection, it's really focusing on, well, what is information protection, rather than getting distracted by, as you say, network security, Intune, all of the other mobility elements. It's really, how are you managing things? What are you managing? And what are the tools that are designed specifically for those use cases? So yes, another set of exams to take and see what they're like.
I think with lockdown and people being for home, security and compliance is such a massive topic at the moment. We're going to see this continue, this people not being in the office. It's an important part. Get certified, get in a good place for it.
Absolutely. I mean, it's been growing for years. This is a sign that it's growing further.
I think lockdown has just accelerated that point, doesn't it? I think the whole point around 2 years worth of transformational work in a couple of months for organizations. We understand the value of information and data. It's an incredibly lucrative commodity. So lots of people keen to get hands on your data for all the wrong reasons. So I think this is an important area to focus, and it's been there for a while. It's good to see some more focus, more exams, greater clarity of capability to help customers and colleagues alike understand what information protection looks like, for example. Because it's a challenge.
I think one of the things around these is, the study aids that are available, Microsoft Learn, they're really good now. They're really good ways to actually get up to speed with some of this stuff. And you do actually learn stuff when you're actually studying for them. So if you are interested, then have a look through the learning materials first to see what there is. It will inspire you to actually try stuff out, fire up a demo tenant, see whether it'll work. But it'll give you, you'll learn a lot doing these exams if you're not, in depth in these areas.
And there's some interesting webinars, community webinars coming out. I think Alan will put a link to. I'll put those link in the show notes as well. So if you don't want to do an exam, go and just have a listen to a webinar as well.
Yeah. And I mean, there's loads of stuff. If you carry on looking at the tech community, there's loads of blogs that they're doing. There's loads of webinars they're doing. They're all free. Yeah, plenty to learn about if you've got the odd hour, 3 here and there.
So those not homeschooling.
This is homeschooling.
This
is homeschooling yourself.
The other one, we didn't talk about this at the beginning, but there was also a couple of Power Platform exams, weren't there, that have just been announced?
Yeah, they've basically completed the separation between the Dynamics exams and the Power Platform exams. So where they did have legacy exams that were, so the MB 600, they now have PL 600 coming out. So they have a full range from, the fundamentals all the way up to the architect that's just dedicated to the Power Platform without the same dependency on the Dynamics piece, which is proving great for a lot of the people at CPS who have done the
SharePoint.
MB ones, and now they have to do the equivalent in the Power Platform.
I was going to say that if you're coming from a SharePoint background, you're very happy with that news. You don't have to touch Dynamics. Yeah. Unfortunately, obviously, Jack, who hopefully will be listening at CPS, he's obviously done his a bit too early because he had to go through all of that. But he's now Dynamics guy, right?
he is a Dynamics expert. He's certified.
Is that the equivalent of moving to the dark side? I think it's I think he's just demonstrated he's very versatile with his learning. So
definitely, he as he put, I think he was kind of, would I have moved to Dynamics 18 months ago if you'd have said? And now he's done that, and he's got both sides right, best of both worlds.
I think there was a lot more swearing when he answered that. Yes, true. Now, Gary, I've noticed in the last minute or so you've started smiling, and I think it's because you've been looking at the show notes and you know what we're going to talk about next, or it's something else which we shouldn't ask about. But there's a bit of a story which caught my eye, and I have to admit, I try and stay off the trending topics on Twitter because they usually involve various random things. But this one caught my eye, that apparently scientists have taught Spinach to send emails, and it could warn us about climate change. Now, I had to click on the article because I thought this must be a joke somewhere, but no, it just gets better and better that scientists have managed to work out how to get spinach through nanotechnology effectively turn spinach into sensors so they can detect explosive materials and then relay this wirelessly back to scientists. Now, we were talking before, and I put out in the tweet, I do wonder why they're using email and not Teams or something else. So it's a little bit disappointing, but I guess we'll let them off on there. But what an insane world we live in. I think it's the only thing I can say about it.
It's great, but I love it how, you've just thought, nanotechnology, and you think, you watch the films and it's kind of like, superheroes and all that kind of stuff. And we're, real world, nope, spinach. Which is kind of like an interesting use case. But I found this I guess the title gets you, right? You can't not click on that title. But when you delve into it, you kind of look at it and think, okay, actually, the use cases that this can be applied to, they're talking about environment issues as well. I think there was talk about finding out when droughts are going to happen and finding landmines as well, which is that's a lot of different use cases there. Planting lots of spinach out in fields.
A lot of very, very positive use cases as well. It's not just the, IoT, excellent, my cactus can now send a tweet when it's thirsty. It's taken it a little bit further than that, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, you think about it now. I mean, you've got Raspberry Pi. So
now
what's
you can
the
have
spinach
pie.
equivalent? Spinach pie. Yeah.
And if you want to freak out your family, next time you're eating spinach, just send one of them an email saying, "Don't eat me." Just see what they say. Keeping them on their toes.
Ouch. That'd be good.
And I think almost exactly the same time as I saw that article, another one caught my eye. Now, I'm going to be slightly more careful than I was when we were talking about it beforehand, because it's quite a serious topic. You get missing child alerts that come out in Texas. Now, unfortunately, probably someone in IT, decided to put some test data in the Amber Alert system, and they decided to put a picture of the Chucky doll from the horror movies. I think is it Chucky's son or something, who's Glenn, and someone hit go, and it went out to everyone in Texas as an alert. Now, funny story, but also a good reminder. Don't put stupid test data into your test systems, because there's always the chance that it goes into live and you look very, very, very silly. For example, if you've got a reporting system where you've decided to put an animated GIF on there, and in UAT you decide to have that animated GIFs with lots of comedy ones of cartoon characters chopping their head off, always check it before you go to live. Trust me, on that one. That was not a fun morning when we realised that. I was young. Oh, that's all I'll say. Don't worry, Steve wasn't here.
So that's why you got grey hair.
Yeah.
Just out of interest, did the article go on to say how many people actually called in and responded?
That is a good question.
How many sightings actually were there?
Yeah, because I may be slightly controversial, Kev, but the theory behind using, random and really obscure test data is that if anybody does inadvertently put that out into the production environment, people will not take it seriously. But there are clearly cases where people would have maybe responded to that alert or taken that alert seriously.
So, that's a good point. It's the opposite of the War of the Worlds on American radio, isn't it? Yeah, don't scare everybody by putting fiction out there.
So,
I like the idea. I don't think I would have used Chucky, but yeah, that I think that's a very good point. Yeah.
And is there only just me just sat here thinking, did they not have a deployment pipeline? Have they not automated?
Yeah, it's only you.
They probably pushed it to the wrong one. That's the problem.
maybe sort of Buzz Lightyear or Woody would have been a better choice, right?
Yeah.
So,
yes.
Slightly more friendly.
I think what they probably didn't have was, their flow is not in an environment with a data loss prevention policy to make sure their test data doesn't get out.
Moving on.
Probably best.
So I've got my notes. A little bit of congratulations. We talked about exams, and Gary, you've passed one this week.
Yeah, later than I actually anticipated, which was kind of funny. So I found out that February and March have the same days, as in so Friday the 5th. Yes, that was Friday when I was supposed to be doing my exam. Turned out I booked it for Friday the 5th of March, but it's okay. So I got a little bit of revision time, brought that forward to Saturday evening, and took the DevOps engineer expert exam and passed that. So I learned a couple of things there. Do exams on a Saturday night and do them stood up, because I seem to have done very well. So so I was pretty happy with that. Yeah,
I'll go with the standing up. Saturday night exams.
Saturday night doesn't sound right. Sunday night was bad enough. Saturday night doesn't sound good. Oh, I guess we're just living the dream, though, aren't we?
The lockdown dream. I think
if that's all we can do at weekends in lockdown, just wait till we get out. We're never going to do an exam again.
Well, it's certainly showing the commitment to the course, that's for sure. So.
Absolutely.
It was just a make up for my scheduling mistake. To be fair, I was like, no, I just need to take it. I'll do it tomorrow. It's fine. I think it was the earliest I could take it. So straight
in. Talking of going out, we have tomorrow night. So we're recording this on Monday night. Hopefully you're listening to this on a Tuesday, because as soon as this hits your feed, you listen to it. And if you have, then you can come and join Al, Gary and I, Carolina, Ketukari, Moraine Summers. I've just noticed the name at the bottom there's wrong. It's not Vescu, but Louise Fries as well. We've got together after doing the Grey Hat Beards Guide to Mike's Etiquette of Microsoft 365. We decided to make this a more regular event. And so we have the inaugural Happy Hour Etiquette. So once a month, second Tuesday of the month, running a virtual session, and we're going to be talking about, similar to if you've seen the panel session or listened to our show just before Christmas with Michael Pisarek and Laura GB, we're going to be going through similar to that, but talking about different topics around the etiquette of Microsoft 365. And the first one will be a communications manifesto for everyone. So do come and join us. It should be a lot of fun tomorrow. We've got coming out, and talking of a lot of fun, we had a lovely message from our good friend Chris Huntingford asking if Grey Hat Beard would appear and talk about Power Platform, how to manage, monitor and secure the Power Platform. We then got another message that came through at the weekend saying, actually, we need to record it for Monday. Is there any chance of that happening? So our Sunday morning was spent quickly recording our session for that, and in no way planning it about 5 minutes beforehand as well. Yeah, don't tell them that. We Alan thought about it, just Gary and I hadn't. So, but as it was, I think it actually was better for it. I thought it was a really good recording. So if you want to listen to that, and we'll be there on the chat, 17th of February, sign up, links in the show notes. And also just after that, I'll be doing my session on Microsoft Search. So if you're interested in Microsoft Search at the Microsoft 365 UK user group, run by the unstoppable Chirag Patel, as he always seems to be everywhere. I don't know how he managed to do quite so many talks and host a user group and always volunteers at conferences. So great benefit to the community, Chirag. So come along. And Al, you're going to have to, is it Gosha?
Gosha, yeah.
Gosha, thank you. Bozeka's going to be talking on creating a bot with the Bot Framework Composer, which I think is another great topic as well. So 2 good ones there. Talking of user groups, Al, you had a good idea on user groups, didn't you?
I did. So with Peter Rising, we've kicked off the Microsoft 365 Security and Compliance user group. So we have our first session on the 24th of February. So we're planning on doing one each month on the last Wednesday of each month. So so far, yes, we've got them booked in. We've got a sessionized page for speakers. So if you're interested in speaking, then submit. And yeah, it's all looking good. So I think for this month, I'll be talking about data loss prevention using Exact Data Match. And Peter's going to be talking about e-discovery and the 3 flavors of e-discovery that are available.
Breaking news, isn't it?
This is breaking news. This is absolutely breaking news. We still to actually think of all the words that we need to put in to the event page. But yeah, so sign up, come along. It should be good.
Actually, Al, could you just check behind you a sec?
Why?
Just while I click on join this group, because I've noticed I haven't actually clicked on join yet. That was slightly embarrassing.
Yeah, but you have submitted a session, so I will forgive you for that.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
I'm incredibly impressed because this page hasn't been up for very long, right? And you've got over 100 members already. I think to go back to the point about security compliance becoming ever more important, this definitely shows it. Yeah, fantastic membership already.
We put this page out on Saturday, so yeah, there is interest. So yeah, I think we've probably got the next 6 months almost covered with speakers. So yeah, there's quite a lot of people who want to speak and quite a lot of people who want to hear them.
And just confirm, fully virtual aim is, so it doesn't matter where you are, won't be physically based.
Yep. The aim is that this is online for global audience, so we can get the best of US and European speakers as well as UK speakers.
Fantastic. We also have coming up in February, what's it, 19th and 20th of February, and in fact, all around the world is the Global Power Platform Bootcamp. And I'm going to be speaking in Paris and Singapore on Knowing Me, Knowing You, facial recognition in the Power Apps. So part of the app I built from Ignite the Tour, thinking you can take a photo from people, recognize them and tell you details about them. So it should be a good session on that.
Spyware then.
I should say that you should only take photos of people you recognise, and there are some tight controls that I will be sharing about that one. Thanks, Al. I'll have to listen to the security and compliance just before that as well. Then we had just before that, we've got the Scottish Summit, which I got here as well. So I know Al and Gary, you're both speaking there, and it's the Grey Hat Beard Guide to Etiquette, but I think we're going to change that to make it the Happy Hour Etiquette if we can do so. We'll all be there for that one. Great whole day of sessions and so many different channels. I know we've talked about it a lot, but please don't forget make sure you have signed up. Then we've got Ignite coming up, so 2nd to 4th of March, Microsoft Ignite. And also 16th of March, Thames Valley Azure User Group.
Yep,
that is an old photo.
It is an old photo. I don't know how to change it in Meetup, which is a bit weird. So yeah, so that'll be they're kicking off the Azure user group in the Thames Valley again. That'll be online. Probably talking about entitlements there.
Cool. So yeah, lots of good events coming up. But I think that is enough for part one. For We said at the beginning there wasn't much news apart from Viva. We managed to talk about quite enough there, but we'll wrap up and get ready for part 2. We'll be living La Vida Loca. So see you on the other side.